Welcome back. What's the crack? That's the catch line of the Irish lads. I guess what's the crack means. How you doing? What's going on? That sort of stuff in their vernacular. Anyway, this place looks much different than it did last night when we came in. It is gorgeous here right now. But we came in, and I told you that I was steering by hand because the autopilot let go. And also, let's see if I can do this with this thing, with hopefully not messing you up. These are called Genoa sheets, and they run down the side of the boat. Sorry about moving the camera here, but got to get over here. So see this? See how they go into this rail right here? And you could slide them forward or back depending on whether you want to pull the sail that way or pull it down this way. And see this end on the end here? Well, apparently my end took off, and over the banging, let's see if I can move this for you. See that? This whole thing took off, and luckily it was still in there, so it was banging around. So we had to take the sail in there the last half hour. And then this thing was all bent up. Got to the anchorage, and nothing a properly sized hammer couldn't fix. Beat it down, put it in place, and there's a little, you guys are probably so seasick from me moving this around. See this thing right here? You can lift that up, move it, and it slots into each one of those tracks. So that was another casualty we had in our sail yesterday. But we were coming in yesterday, and it was blowing 24 knots sustained. Get up to 30 every once in a while, but 24 knots, it was doing that the whole time. We came in here, and I had read about the anchorage, and it said that it had good holding, but there was a lot of seaweed. Not the grass, but some sort of seaweed that said makes it very difficult to get any holding. So the wind was coming off at this angle over here. And I had Crystalita in the bow, and I could see all the way back from the stern, there was a big light blue patch, which meant sand. And Crystalita saw it too. She vectored me over to it. The wind is screaming. You know what? I don't mean it's screaming, but to be in an anchorage and having it below 24 knots sustained was quite a bit. So we dropped right on there, and came back over here, and it set right in, and we knew we weren't going anywhere, so that was all good. Then about an hour later, the Irish lads showed up. They went over, they saw the big spot that I had, and then I had let out a bunch of chain, and they said, oh, Tim's probably in that spot, so I won't drop there. So they dropped over here, and remember, when they did this, we were facing this direction here, so they were over there. The wind has just changed since then. So we're all happy. We're having dinner, and then this beautiful aluminum German boat comes tooling right in, and they go right over, and they see that big patch, and they say, oh, this is great. I'm pretty sure they dropped their anchor right on top of mine, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't have any desire to get out of here first thing. So in other words, I'm worried that if I start pulling my anchor up, it's going to be tangled up with theirs. If they have a better chance of raising their anchor. If they went over the top of mine, there's a chance they could raise theirs up and not be a problem. So we'll see how that all plays out. But that's going to work well anyway, because I haven't even started to work on my autopilot problem. And figured I had to get up, get some coffee into me, and I've done that. And you can hear the birds have already woken up. They're so funny. They wake up and they come out. Crystalita puts a little pillow up, and they make like a little cave, and they go into their cave as soon as it gets dark, and they go to sleep there all night. And then at night they come out, and she has a little breakfast out for them. They eat a little breakfast, and then they fly over and they start messing with her earrings and stuff. But somebody wanted a bird update. And I wanted to say, yes, other than getting into everything else, the latest thing they got into was So I went over and found all these little bits of blue paper everywhere. I was like, what the hell is this? I find a 20 euro note all chewed up that they had ripped up into teeny little pieces. So, they are costing more than just my sanity. But the idea today is to hopefully track down the autopilot problem. If I track that down, I'm going to feel very accomplished. According to the weather, yesterday, both windy and predict winds said there'd be no wind. It'd be a full motor day. And where we're going is about 30 miles away. But I thought we had to be there tonight. But the boys are saying that we don't have to be there tomorrow. And that has to do with me picking up my Amazon packages, but it also has to do with picking up Bob's parents. So anyway, that's like 30 miles away, and we could totally do that. But they're like, we have time. Why don't we just do 15 miles and do, a 3-hour hop and then do a 3-hour hop the next day? And I was like, that sounds great. So I wake up this morning and I look at the weather, and they say that around lunchtime, it's going to start blowing in the direction we want to go pretty hard. So that's kind of good. We'll have a nice downwind screecher. The only problem is, after tomorrow, then the wind comes from exactly where we got to go. So I went to bed last night after I dropped the boys off at their boat. And the reason why I drop them with my dinghy is just because I have a bigger outboard than they have. You can see their dinghy right here, and their outboard is on the rail over here. Anyway, yeah, so we all decided that we'd find a place 15 miles up, drop the anchor. That'd be great. And I did find an anchorage, and it says it gives it a rating, from 0 to 100, and it's at like 76 for waves and swell and wind and all that. So that would probably totally work well. Incidentally, this right here had like a 96, and you can see why. But my thinking is, and you know what? First thing I got to fix this is why it takes a little while for the coffee to work. But my thinking is, I need to first get the autopilot fixed. Whether we go 15 miles or 30 miles, I need the autopilot fixed. That's number one. Then, by that time, because the boys, they usually get up at the crack of noon, but there's 3 of them and they're young and they can do anything. So I'm like, this is my perfect time. I want to go right now, but the wind isn't exactly right to do that right now. It's going to allegedly change later. So my thinking is that I get the autopilot fixed, figure on leaving whenever I get the autopilot fixed. If that's at 10 or 11, whatever. I start going. I'm going to have 3 hours to talk to them, and we're going to be going the same way, because what I want to try to do is have them look at the weather and see what they think. Because if it was up to me, as much as I don't want to hand steer if I can't fix the autopilot for 30 miles, or even just say, if we've got good weather, we should go the 30 miles, which is just 6 hours instead of 3. Go to where we're going, drop the anchor, and not have to beat into it the next day. So we'll see what they say. But anywho, that's about it. There's a nightclub over here that we had read in the Active Captain or Navally. And they had said, oh, it's a great anchorage except for the techno music until 4 in the morning. Well, we never heard a thing, and then just when everything got really quiet, and the boys were off the boat and just putting everything away, could barely hear some music over there, so it really wasn't an issue. The only thing that's really weird is they have a really big security light, or it's a big light that shines on the water, so I'm assuming that's a security light to make sure that everyone's cool out here. And that wasn't that big a deal. But anyway, yeah, I think I've talked about this before, but it's worth mentioning again. Being my first time sailing in the Med, and if you guys ever get this also might be a good metaphor for life as well. But almost all the research I've done, almost all the reviews that people write in Navally and Navionics, Active Captain, all that sort of stuff, I'm saying all of them, but most of the information I've got has been wrong. When they've told me it's been a terrible anchorage, it's been a great anchorage. They've told me that things have been a great anchorage, have been a terrible anchorage. They told me that going across the Atlantic was going to be the most dangerous and treacherous trip of my life. It was a mill pond. saying it always is. You just try to put the odds in your favor. We've gone to, there were places that said that don't go to this marina, don't go to this city, don't go to this anchorage, and they all turned out to be great. So I guess what I'm saying is that I am somebody that likes to do research. I like to have a plan. I like to have a plan B as well. But maybe, especially in life, maybe it's important to really start judging things for how they are to you, not to somebody who wrote it. You know, I often think about all these anchorages that are beautiful and nice, and the restaurants I go to that are nice and beautiful and all that stuff. And you know what? I really should be writing reviews and stuff like that. I never write reviews, you know? And so, is it just that one miserable Karen that goes out there and gets really mad at somebody and so writes terrible things about the whole, you know, they had one altercation with some merchant in a shop and then they write bad things about the entire anchorage in the town? I don't know. All I do know is that, I've also read about how horrible the French were. And then every person that I met in France has been wonderful when we were in France. So who knows? Maybe I can't speak for you, but maybe I need to start taking in information with a grain of salt and realizing that I will write whether I like it or not. Maybe you could too if you wanted. But anyway, in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. And I think we're down to day 2 before the mics come in. And if I get a chance, I know that you guys really like the sailing videos. If I get a chance, I'll try to do one when we're sailing. It's really hard to do and steer at the same time. But if I get the autopilot fixed, maybe I'll have 2 hands to film. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And special thanks. A bunch of you guys gave us some money to buy us some rounds. So when we get into calligraphy, it's not calligraphy. People have been correcting it. We just say that so we can remember what the name of the place is. And if you wonder why I'm not really good, first of all, I'm not really good with names anyway. Second of all, I don't even remember my own name. But second of all, we're kind of going from place to place to place. I can draw you a chart and show you the places that I went, but I can't name them. And I could, but with a little squirrel brain like I have, do you think it's really worth putting names in there? I'm not coming back here. I've written in the log. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching. And those of you that have bought us rounds, when we get over there, we're going to need that calligraphy. I can't even, now I've messed myself up saying it the wrong way. So I hear that it's not going to be the cheapest place to go for when we buy a few cocktails. But anyway, you guys have helped, and I say salancha, cheers, salud. Thank you all you're doing that, hitting the super thanks. And special thanks to the people that have joined Patreon. Really appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Listen to Chrisalina, she's playing with the birds right now. All right, you guys take care, be safe, and I'll see you on the one.